Hey guys, in today's episode we're talking about 10 sci-fi and fantasy shows that were awesome on TV. I'm Eric.
And I'm Nathan.
And we are
Notes
and Nerds. Alright guys, let's get right on to the top 10 list.
In this episode, I won't be talking. Ah!
Yes, you will.
Why you gotta be so mean?
You like it. Alright guys, let's go.
Number 10, Defiance.
Defiance is a relatively new show on the Sci-Fi Channel. It's not really a groundbreaking show in the sense that it introduces anything new. The story is basically aliens from another part of the galaxy come to Earth, start terraforming it to colonize, and then they realize, oh hey, there's humans here, war breaks out, and then war's over, and now they're all trying to live together.
Kind of like B.
Like V? Kind of, sort of, maybe not. What really is groundbreaking about the show is, thanks to Tryon Games, Tryon Worlds, they created an MMORPG set in San Francisco, where the show itself is set in St. Louis, and what happens in one takes place or has effects on the other. So you, the player, also get basically be part of the show itself.
Number 9, Battlestar Galactica.
Now we're going to talk about both the original and the reboot from 2003. In the late 70s, early 80s, Battlestar Galactica came on CBS, and a lot of people ridiculed it for being nothing more than a Star Wars ripoff. In a way it was. You had giant Cylon robots that were out to destroy the human race, and the Cylons honestly looked like really shiny stormtroopers. But the show was actually pretty cool.
Good effects.
It did. The miniature effects in that show, it was actually a very expensive show back in the day. The thing is, it was a fun romp. Like most sci-fi shows from the 70s and 80s, it really, what drama was in there was always concluded by the ending with a happy story ending. Blah. But the 2003 reboot was edgy, it was gritty, it was filled with drama, and there was a lot of episodes that just ended where you're going, it was never, you did not always get, and generally throughout most of the show, you did not get a happy ending. And that's really what set this show on the list, is because it really defines science fiction on not only cable television, but network television also, as being able to produce edgy, gritty, dramatic television shows.
Number 8, Farscape.
Farscape was co-developed by the Jim Henson Company and the Sci-Fi Channel. The show used both practical effects like Muppets and puppets, and it also used CGI effects in the right way, like space shots with the ships and stuff like that, where you didn't want to use a lot of practical effects to cut costs. It was a really fun show. Again, it had happy endings. It also had sad endings and oh my god endings throughout the run of the show. But it was just one of those shows that brought Jim Henson back to television, basically, and it just had great stories. It's still a popular series even today, after 10 years or more, 14 years almost, of it not being on the air, with a lot of fans hoping and hearing rumors that there could be a movie coming out.
Sounds good. Okay, number 7, Firefly.
Really, right there, do we need to say more? Joss Whedon made Firefly. The interesting thing about this sci-fi show is that it didn't feel like your typical science fiction space guys walking around shooting bad guys. It felt like cowboys in space, literally. I mean, if you really look at the show, if you haven't watched it, you really should. Every character kind of felt like cowboys. And it was just a fun show. It had Joss Whedon humor. I mean, if you don't know who Joss Whedon is, you obviously haven't watched Buffy, Angel, Dollhouse, The Avengers. He's just got a great way of doing stuff. And the show, it not only was it such a great show that it left a lasting impression on the viewers, but all of the actors involved, like Nathan Fillion, he would if somebody said jump into your character of Mal again, he would be like, boom, I'm there. He loves the character.
Okay. We're about to mess that up. Number 6, Hercules, The Legendary Journey.
Hercules is kind of a reimagined version of the old Hercules myth and tales, but in syndication. And being a show that ran throughout most of the 90s, again, it was campy, especially in syndication. If you ever watched a lot of syndicated shows back in the day, they tended to be kind of campy. And Kevin Sorbo really kind of ran with it too. I mean, he loved the character too. I mean, he even reprised his role as Hercules in the God of War franchise.
That's true.
The acting was decent. Stories were a bit campy, but it's one of the endearing things about the show. And on top of that, it really kind of reinvigorated the enjoyment and love of classic Greek mythology.
Yep. So now, we are about to take a journey inside the inner part of your mind for number 5, The Twilight Zone.
When anybody thinks of classic anthology science fiction fantasy television, there's one show that pops up to mind immediately, and that's The Twilight Zone.
Show.
A lot of their shows, actually almost all of them, were deep, thought-provoking, and entertaining shows. They were gritty, they were edgy, they dealt with political issues, racial issues, educational issues. The show really just threw it all out on the table and gave the viewer something to think about at the end of each episode.
Eric, there's something on the plane! There's something on the wing of the plane!
Take your meds. And even today, a lot of those classic episodes are considered true classics that you still see having an impact on a lot of modern television.
Very much so.
Hey Nathan.
Hey Eric.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Doctor.
Doctor Who.
Number 4 is Doctor Who. Some may argue that this probably should be higher on the list, closer to number 1, if not number 1, but I am a gosh darn, by golly honest Whovian. Even Nathan here is starting to get into the show. Now, the reason why this is on our list for sure is the fact that it's been on TV for 50 years. 5 decades. For a show running that long, the way they get around it was ingenious. With the regeneration of the doctors. I mean, that was one way to keep the show alive and also reinvigorate the show when the show kind of started getting to a point where it felt
How many doctors are there?
There are technically 13. Peter Capaldi will be 13 because John Hurt played the War Doctor during the 50th anniversary, even though he didn't actually have an actual season to himself, but he is canonical and is actually technically Doctor number 8, where Christopher Eccleston has always been referred to as Doctor 8, excuse me. But the show was actually originally aimed as a children's show on the BBC and was brought over to America, ran on PBS when I was a kid. It now runs on BBC America. Has the newer iteration of the series has some really great effects. I mean, when Christopher Eccleston came in and played Doctor number 8, some of the effects were kind of cheesy, corny, but later episodes, the special effects really took off.
Really good special effects.
The stories
Good
are...
acting.
Oh, yes. David Tennant was one of the most popular doctors of recent. His popularity is actually almost as high as Tom Baker, which was Doctor number 4. Matt Smith has even become really well known and liked as Doctor Who because he portrayed the Doctor in a very original way that wasn't like rehashing an older Doctor. Even though now we're going to be going to Peter Capaldi, which a lot of people are kind of curious. We're going back into an older actor playing the Doctor. And this season, if you've been on our website, notesandnerds.com, we've posted some stuff, and it looks like this season's going to be gritty, dark. So,
No problem with that.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Can't wait. Number 3, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is a staple in every nerd's sci-fi fantasy diet. This show is chock full of epic intrigue, murder, plots, and fantasy.
Incest.
Yeah, don't forget that. Each show is just flat out amazing. First of all, there was a video done that was showing the special effects that go into it, and what looks like real world shots is usually about 90% CGI. The production quality in the show itself is amazing with the effects. The acting is phenomenal, and you know, Peter Dinklage as Tyrion Lannister, the imp, that guy's just pretty much made himself, any midget role that comes up, any dwarf role that comes up, he's got it, hands down.
I think he's a really iconic actor.
Oh gosh, yes, definitely. So keep in mind that the series is written by George R.R. Martin as far as the novels, A Song of Fire and Ice. The show does cut out things like any show based off of a book, whether it be TV or movie, but who cares? It's just an amazing show.
Number 2, Babylon 5.
Babylon 5 is ranked number 2 in our list here, simply for the fact that not only did it have great storytelling and really good television acting, but it also excuse me folks, give me a moment, get a drink out of my Superman cup. Special effects, it was using CG effects back in the day when practical effects in the mid-90s was still the norm. But the thing is that really put the show over the edge was the fact that each episode tied into the previous episode and into the future episodes. It was serialized, whereas a lot of shows up to that point weren't. In most shows, which I'm going to compare to our number 1 here in a little bit, episode starts off, drama, episode ends, happy ending, issues are resolved. Unless, of course, it was a 2 or 3-parter, and then, of course, it would story arc over. But Babylon 5 would go not only just 1 or 2 or 3 episodes, but the story arc would last a whole season, if not the whole running of the show.
Okay, now we're going to do a few honorable mentions. So, first one is Alf.
Ha! I kill me!
I wish. No, and this was about an alien from Melmac that crash landed on Earth that took sanctuary with a family that took care of him while also trying to devour their cat.
And unfortunately, he couldn't go home because Melmac got blown up because everybody plugged in their hairdryers at the same time.
80s for you.
Yep.
Okay, the second one for honorable mention is
Mystery Science Theater 3000. This show was a interesting show in the fact that they showed a lot of campy C-rate, not B-rate, because B-rate you can at least watch. These things were C-rate movies that were just so horrible that you would have to be nuts to watch them.
Or drunk.
Or drunk. Or stoned. Or whatever. Anyway, but the thing is, with the 2 robots and the guy, I can't remember their names.
The dude, the robot, and something else.
They had quips and one-liners, and they would trash the movie over and over and over.
And it was very entertaining.
It was hilarious half the time. So, yeah. That's our 2 honorable mentions, so let's do number 1. Sit.
Number 1, Star Trek.
Oh my.
Damn it, Eric. I'm a co-host, not an actor.
I know, Nathan. Star Trek is our number 1 for a very big reason. Over the course of the last 100 years of television, science fiction has been there. It ranges from a variety of different things, like Flash Gordon and a few other serialized shows back in the day. But Star Trek solidified science fiction on primetime television as being something that wasn't just campy, hero comes saves the day, damsel in distress, evil monster, bad guy, gets defeated. Star Trek was also a symbol of hope for humanity, where during the 60s, you know, we had the Cold War starting to grow, a US versus Russia kind of thing. Everybody was up in arms and afraid. But in the Star Trek universe, all those petty squabbles are gone. You saw Chekhov being Russian, Sulu, who was Japanese.
Oh my.
You saw Uhura, who was a black woman, on the bridge as an actual main officer, not just as a side character who would pop up once in a blue moon. I mean, Star Trek even, you know, went to an extreme where Captain Kirk and Uhura kissed on television in the 60s.
Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
Well, not just that, but the idea of an interracial relationship in the 60s on television was such a taboo that when Star Trek did that, when Gene Roddenberry had that episode done, it made national headlines. And it's still remembered to this
Break
day.
down the barrier.
Obliterate with the photon torpedo.
Yeah.
The show, and not just the
Set
original.
it to stun.
That's what she said. Not only the classic series has been a genre definer, but Next Generation, which started in 1996 and
Make it
97,
so.
it brought back the elements from the original and brought it up to date, and it really delved into the same political and religious and very iconic points of view.
That was a very good show.
It was an excellent show.
Good actors.
Yeah.
All of them have good actors. All of them were really good shows.
Exactly. Deep Space Nine was one of the Star Trek series that kind of
Went off the.
it was a fault. It started faulty, but it got really interesting. There was a lot of religious undertones throughout the series that may have turned off some, but excited others.
The new Star Trek, funded by the Christian Churchology.
Then there was Enterprise, which unfortunately Enterprise tried to do these overarching storylines that would last the whole season instead of just episode to episode or whatever. And it kind of hurt the franchise, and that's why we don't have Star Trek on television anymore. But thanks to J.J. Abrams, it's back in theaters with a big one. And Robert Orci is planned to direct the third movie and kind of going back to its roots.
I will be honest, I'm not a big Star Trek fan. There are characters I like, but I will tell you to see, I know, but I will tell you, I've seen the movies, and these new versions of the movies are really good.
They kind of took away the classic elements of what Star Trek used to be and put it into more of an action-oriented adventure, which I'm not arguing with. I mean, it's still fun, and I love the new Star Trek films because the originals were kind of drawn out and plot heavy, and you have to be in a mood for it. But that was Star Trek to begin with. It was always plot heavy, even for the newer stuff, especially Voyager and Deep Space Nine. But the new romps of excitement and adventure sit well. I mean, they're doing a third one, so obviously it is.
And what I like is how they keep the composure with the characters from the classic ones. I mean, by bringing in new actors and how well they really stay to that classic element of the characters.
And just to kind of make a big point, Zachary Quinto, out of all the cast, he's my favorite as far as reenacting the classic characters. I mean, he hits Spock so well.
Oh, yeah.
Even Leonard Nimoy said that he felt like he was looking into a mirror 40 years ago. So he's doing something right. So that is our list.
And that was our top 10 picks for sci-fi and fantasy.
That's right, guys. And hey, you know what? If you want to check out more of our episodes that came out this season and our previous season, check us out right here on notesandnerds.com.
And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Google.
That's right. And you know what? If you want to help support us, and we really would appreciate it, go to patreon.com/notesandnerds, where you can pretty much
give a little to get something back.
Exactly.
And don't forget to shop at Notes and Nerds, where you can find cool swag like t-shirts and hats and teddy bears and mugs and mouse pads and
other stuff. Yeah.
Other stuff, yeah. So, kumbaya, little toes. Oh, shit.